At an Air Force base in the south of Taiwan, fighter jets practice for an incursion towards the island by military planes from nearby mainland China. Jets have been scrambling for real more often as China has stepped up its military patrols, most recently last weekend. It seems to be Beijing's reminder that it will always regard Taiwan as part of China, and it's prepared to take it back by force if necessary.
We make no promise to renounce the use of force and reserve the option to use all necessary measures. Our position has been consistent and will not change.
Taiwan's president, Tsai Ing-wen, inspecting her military's preparedness, says the island is ready for any aggression.
From last year, our radar stations have detected incursions by nearly 2,000 Chinese military aircraft and over 400 military vessels. We drove them away in a timely manner and secured our maritime and airspace.
As Antony Blinken assumes the role of top diplomat, there are signs of a possible tilt in U.S. foreign policy. $23 billion worth of elite F-35 planes and drones bound for the United Arab Emirates are now on hold, as is a nearly $300 million sale of small munitions to Saudi Arabia, approved by the former Trump administration. Both Democrats and Republicans in Congress had expressed concern over the deals. The Saudi-led coalition's bombing campaign in Yemen is contributing to what the United Nations calls the world's worst humanitarian disaster. Blinken also expressed concern about President Donald Trump's designation of the Houthi militia as a terrorist organization. He said it complicates efforts to deliver vital aid to Yemen. The group controls nearly 80% of the country and is largely backed by Iran.
Police officers in Moscow launched a series of raids on apartments and offices linked to jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny and his family and associates. Alexei Navalny's brother Oleg has also been taken into custody as of now. Locations searched included Navalny's apartment where his brother Oleg was arrested and a rented apartment where Navalny's wife Yulia had been living. Yulia, Navalnya's lawyer, told journalists that the police did not allow her to attend the raids, which she said violated Navalnya's rights of defense. Other locations raided by the police included the offices of Navalny's Anti-Corruption Foundation and the studio which produces his videos and online broadcasts. The police also searched the apartment of head of the Alliance of Doctors Union, that is Anastasia Vasileva. The Russian police have not yet commented on these searches. However, Navalny's team has claimed that Putin's crazy fear is behind these raids.
In other news, Russia's lower house of parliament has approved the extension of the last remaining nuclear arms control pact with the U.S. The State Duma voted unanimously to extend the New START treaty for 5 years. The vote came a day after U.S. President Joe Biden and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin reached a deal.
The U.S.-Russian relationship remains constant in some ways, dating back, in fact, to the U.S.-Soviet relationship. And that is that whether things are going well, as they have in some periods between Washington and Moscow, or poorly, as most people would say they are right now, both sides acknowledge that you do not use your nuclear arsenals for leverage on other issues. And so while arms control advocates and the Biden administration will no doubt be pleased that the Russian Duma acted so quickly to approve the extension,
During a winter night in Warsaw, hundreds of protesters came out to the streets to tell the government that they think its stance on abortion is wrong. On Wednesday night, Poland's new abortion law went into immediate effect, banning terminations of pregnancies with fetal abnormalities. Abortions will now only be allowed in cases of rape and incest, or if the mother's life is at risk. Doctors performing illegal abortions will face jail time. The ruling led to weeks of much larger nationwide protests in October. Because of this, the Conservative Law and Justice Party delayed its implementation of the law. The abortion law is in line with other policies from the right-wing party. Since taking office in 2015, it has also ended state funding for in vitro fertilization.
Growing poverty is pushing Lebanese people back onto the streets. Protesters say they are hungry, unable to cope with a coronavirus lockdown now in its third week. They want economic support. This is how the authorities responded. Lebanon's economic collapse began more than a year ago. There have been social unrest and political turmoil since. Officials say 500,000 families, or 2.5 million people, are in need of assistance. That's nearly half the population. Compliance with a 24-hour curfew that exempts essential workers is weak in Lebanon's second largest city, Tripoli. It was already poor before the pandemic.
Bodies keep piling up at Avbob Mortuary in downtown Johannesburg. Most of them are coronavirus victims.
We've got just well over 190 bodies here. Out of that 190 bodies, I'll safely say 100 of those is actually COVID.
The bodies of those who died of COVID-19 are stored separately to avoid contamination. And Avbob's running out of refrigerated containers to keep them in.
So far, we have distributed 22 of these containers across the country to various areas where we think we might have to bolster our mortuary facilities.
Funeral homes across the country are also concerned there won't be enough coffins to go around. Last week, South Africa's funeral union said it's considering importing coffins from neighboring countries to meet demand.
We must remember that this is a republic of laws, where the Constitution reigns supreme. The former president's conduct is a direct breach of the rule of law, which forms part of that Constitution. In our system, no one is above the law. Even those who had the privilege of making laws are bound to respect and comply with those laws. In the result, the following order is made. Mr. Jacob Gedlehlekisa Zuma is ordered to obey all summonses and directives lawfully issued by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption, and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state.
A World Health Organization-led team investigating the origins of the deadly COVID-19 pandemic has now left the quarantine hotel in Wuhan in China. The WHO experts will now begin fieldwork 2 weeks after arriving in the Chinese city of Wuhan, where the virus emerged in late 2019. The mission has been plagued by delays, concerns over access and bickering between China and the United States, which has accused Beijing of hiding the extent of the initial outbreak. The US has also criticized the terms of the visit, under which Chinese experts conducted the first phase of research. The Biden administration has also demanded a robust probe into the origins of the pandemic. The White House has also slammed certain sources in China for spreading misinformation about the initial outbreak.
Stefan Ernst was found guilty of shooting dead the politician in what's believed to be Germany's first far-right political assassination since World War II.
Well, the murder took place at Walter Lübke's home. He was out in his patio, and the accused and now convicted killer came up to him and shot him point blank in his head. He was found by his son, brought to the hospital, and declared dead on arrival. 2 weeks later, the police arrested Stefan Ernst. He confessed, he retracted his confession, and then he reconfessed, and he was sentenced to life in jail without a possibility of parole because, in the words of the prosecutor, this was a case of xenophobia and racism. What Lübke had been doing to anger this neo-Nazi was actually campaign on behalf of Angela Merkel's welcome refugee policy. You'll recall in 2015, around 1 million refugees came in from war-torn areas in the Middle East.